Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, seen Wednesdays on the Sports Collectors Daily Facebook page and the Great American Collectibles Facebook page. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Spotify. The Great American Collectibles Show is brought to you by the National Sports Collectors Convention and Sports Collectors Daily. Tonight's headlines are brought to you by Sports Collectors Daily. For all of your hobby news, features, and more, go to sportscollectorsdaily.com. And now your hosts, Tom Zappala and Boston sports personality, John Mallory.
JM, my man, how are you?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Danny, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Danny Wulkin from Memory Lane?
Did you get a gig at Orange Julius? Is that the deal with that shirt? What are we doing here? What's happening?
It's a new look.
It's not a good one.
I bought this at the Turtle Shop in Juno Beach.
That's because you move slowly.
That's right. Listen, I'm still on the IL. I've got my leg up. I've got ice on my back. My ass is killing me. I'm incapacitated.
Let me consolidate this for you. You're old.
I'm taking one for the team.
Yeah.
I am taking one for the team. And I expect both of you guys to carry me today. Literally carry me.
Go ahead,
Dan.
You say you're taking one for the team. What's weird is that I hear a noise or some feedback, on you, Zap. Do you have Petrocelli downstairs in the basement?
No, I'm going to tell you something. Petrocelli right now.
Help me.
Listen, Petrocelli left yesterday for home, and he's taking three nights to get there, guys, both of you.
He's driving back from Florida.
Now, listen, this is no exaggeration. You know what he does? Because Elsie drives part of the way, and Rico drives part of the way. They have a piece of paper, a list, blank list, and when they see roadkill on the road, they jot it down, what it is, and by the time they get home, Rico calls me up. He says, we had 25 roadkills. We had 3 possums. We had a fox. It's absolutely hysterical.
So he serves all that stew. He serves that stew.
I don't know what the hell. No, they don't pick it up.
Okay.
Hey, you have to be careful of a dinner invitation to Rico's place when he gets back from Florida. Rico only stops on the way back for 3 things: roadkill, signings, and a free dinner somewhere. That's it.
And he did, and he's done all 3 down here this year. The guy is unbelievable. Listen, we did that fundraiser? Right?
Yeah.
Out of the fundraiser, Petrocelli got 3 rounds of golf at 3 exclusive golf courses, fishing for 4, deep sea fishing for 4, and 3 free meals at restaurants. Go figure,
dude.
Right?
He's America's guest.
He really
is unbelievable.
Yeah. He's a piece of work. All right, welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show. Tom Zapp, along with my good friend who I miss dearly, JM John Mallory. John, I'm leaving here tomorrow. Going to head home tomorrow. We're flying, except I don't know how the hell she's going to get me in the goddamn plane. I'm thinking maybe the cargo area or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're going to be classified as carry-on.
It's true. I mean, to my right is all the bags are packed. Everything is packed, and unfortunately, Ellen has to load the car. So I told her I would open the door for her, the trunk door. Anyway,
I thought you were going into a little Peter, Paul, and Mary there. Oh, my bags are packed. I'm ready to go.
All right, Danny boy, you guys have an amazing auction. As a matter of fact, JP sent us the catalog. Your spring auction. I mean, some of the stuff you have right out of the gate, and we're going to talk about a lot of things today. Tell me about the 1903 Matty rookie card.
W600. That card is unbelievable. I mean, they call him the Christian gentleman. They call him he had a lot of, what's interesting though? I think he was only 45 years old when he passed away, right? He was,
he was young.
Was born in the 1870s and died in 1920, something like that. But I mean, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest pitcher of all time.
He's right up there.
classiest card. The photography on those
I know, I'm looking at it.
cards.
Me too. I don't want people to think I'm texting during the show. I'm actually looking at your catalog. So,
Chrissy, I can't hold this up. They won't see this, right? If I put it right in front of the camera.
You can give it a try.
Is it blurred?
Yeah, it's blurry.
Oh, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Just a great card, though.
it is really nice looking card.
It's you know something, Maddie. We obviously over the years, Ellen and I have done a lot of research on these great pre-war players, and you hit it right on the head, Dan. There are two guys in the history of pre-war baseball that I would put up there on a pedestal as being great people, good, hardworking, honest people.
Walter Johnson
and Christy Mathewson, those two.
Yeah.
Right?
You
Those
can't
two.
Ty Cobb. I mean, look at the T206 set break that we have in the auction with all those Ty Cobb cards.
I saw those. I saw that. Do you have an M116 in this auction?
We just wrapped with the printing, and there are only about 1,950 lots. So I'm not exactly.
Okay, I know. I was just curious. I'll tell you what else. The Ruth and Garrick ball, man.
Man.
Where'd you get that?
1934 Tour of Japan.
That's the Tour of Japan one. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's got Fox and Gehrig and Ruth and Mo Berg, who, Mo Berg played an instrumental part, in the CIA, where the story goes, and it's an incredible story. He went to Princeton. He was a sharp guy.
Right, brilliant.
And he knew about 6 different languages. And let me tell you, when the guy who was head of the trip as they were going over on the boat during that time asked him if he knew Japanese, and he said no. And they're on their journey. They finally get over there. Everybody's, they start playing and everything. And he said the guy sees Mo Berg speaking to a guy fluently in Japanese. And after they're done, he walked over to him and I said, I thought you said you didn't know Japanese. And he said, I didn't. I learned it on the way over. That's how sharp he was.
Oh, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, what is it, a card? I can't find it. What is it, a card at your auction? What is it?
Well, no, he's on that.
He's on the ball. One of the autographs
he's on the ball.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's interesting how, that's even as cool as having Babe Ruth or Lou
Well,
Gehrig.
I agree.
So Ruth, Gehrig, Fox, Jimmy Fox is on that ball too, right, Danny?
That's-
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I hope the person that won it is watching the show. Mike Hefner had was it Mike Hefner? Yeah, it was Hef. Had a Moberg card. So it was a card, but he had 2 letters that were authenticated giving him his instructions to go over and spy.
Oh,
So-
wow.
it's great, 2 great. And I bid on it, but I got outbid. So the person that is bidding that won that, this would be a great addition to your Moberg collection.
Oh,
Without
yeah.
doubt.
And on top of that, there aren't that many. I'm really heavy on signed canceled checks. I love, buying
Yep.
pieces of history, and Moberg checks never come up. 2 checks I forgot to bid. 2 checks just came up with $500 minimums encapsulated by PSA on eBay, and they didn't get hit, and they were just relisted. So they're only $450 and $500, as an opening bid. So I'm going to watch them. So don't steal any of those from me. But if you want one, maybe split it.
We are chatting with Dan Wulkin from Memory Lane Auctions. JM, you have a question?
No, I was going to say, I'm just looking here at the lots. I see right on the front page, I see 3 really nice Roberto Clemente cards. Is he continuing to grow in popularity and value among collectors? I've noticed it over the last couple of years, Clemente, Aaron, Robinson. But let's talk about Clemente in particular and where he is.
You say Clemente and Aaron and Robinson, and all those are great. But I think the more people that read about Clemente and see how philanthropic he was.
Yeah.
Here you have a guy who's donating, all this food and, special items that are going over to Nicaragua. They're intercepted the first time. They're intercepted the second time. This man decides to go on the plane, and then the plane goes down and he passes away. I think it was December 31st, 1972.
Yep.
And he just he's always been such a gentleman on and off the field. I've seen memorabilia that's been offered in a lot of different auctions. You were mentioning Hefner. I think Leland's had a letter where a girl wrote him and said, hey, can I get some tickets for a game? He wrote her back saying, how, absolutely, I'd love to help you out. Meet me at the game. Just kind of spelling it out for this girl to meet him. And it's not a matter of he was trying to meet her. That's just the type of person he was.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me. I don't remember when I read this, but it was a year ago or 2 years ago. He was from Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
and there is a group of people in the Catholic Church in Puerto Rico, and they are petitioning the Vatican to consider canonizing Roberto Clemente as a saint eventually, because they've attributed, I guess in the Catholic faith, I'm Catholic, but I'm not a practicing Catholic. In the Catholic faith, you have to have, like, they call them first-class miracles, first-class miracles. Anyway, it looks, they're attributing one thing that's happened so far to Clemente. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Am I eligible because I've done this show so long with you? Does that count as 3 friggin' miracles for me?
Let me talk to the big guy. Let me talk to the big guy in Rome. I'll chat with him.
Clemente, though, he's one of those guys, Clemente, that, we don't hear enough about. He was very soft-spoken. He was not a self-promoter. And he played in Pittsburgh at a time when New York was, obviously the capital of baseball and all that. So he's one of those guys we probably need to hear more about.
People are reading about him.
I think you're right, Danny. You're right, Danny. Yeah.
And they're learning more about him. And in a another piece that we have in the auction is a 1954 contract from Puerto Rico when Clemente played in Puerto Rico before he started, and I'm going to back up. I think, wasn't he drafted by the Dodgers?
I don't remember.
Or was it him that was drafted and then ended up going to the Pirates? Well, anyway, this contract from 1954, this Puerto Rican contract, it's got not only it's co-signed by his parents, but his fingerprints.
Very cool.
Wow.
It's framed up with a photo. It's PSA'd, and that's a spectacular piece.
Wow.
All right, we're going to switch gears because there's a topic that's a topic I want to bring up that we spoke about last week and the week before. I feel personally, Dan, that the hobby is dramatically changing. And I want to get your thoughts on the PSA SGC merger and JSA being bought out by CGC. What's happening? Is this going in the wrong direction, the right direction? Are we going to see monopolies? Are there going to be lawsuits? What's going to happen here?
I think it's a great business idea. I think Nat is extremely sharp. I would have bought it a long time ago. I think, everything has to unfold and, all the particulars all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but I think it's a very good situation.
It's a positive thing. Okay.
I think it's great. I think it's great. And, you'll see, I think as time goes on, I think you'll see, a lot of specials being offered to try, not saying it's guaranteed, but to try and have your SGC cards, crossed over into, PSA holders. But SGC, is still a strong company. You might see that they keep it, as is because they have their graders. I'm sure they're, on board, and I have no intel or anything, but, I think that it's a great marriage. It's a great marriage. And with JSA, Jimmy's been talking about encapsulating items for, decades. And, now's the time where they're able to greenlight that and expand their business. And they bought JSA, but JSA and CGC, I'm sure will still operate individually as they've been. They're just under the CGC umbrella. So just like Collectors Universe, overseeing, PG. What's the coin?
PGCS.
PGCS, yeah, PGCS and everything else, the PSA DNA side. So I'm telling you, I think it's great. I mean, you have fanatics. They're gonna down the road, I'm sure they're gonna grade cards, and so there's still plenty of competition. I don't see it as a monopoly. So I think it's going to be a smooth transition.
Okay, so not playing the devil's advocate a little bit here as a collector. So I have a card that's graded by SGC. It's a 4 or a 5, whatever. Now we all know that a graded SGC card in a 4 is worth, I don't know, 25, 30% less than a PSA card graded in a 4.
Right.
So my question is now, as you mentioned, the possibility of people just loading up PSA with SGC graded cards, number one. Number two, is SGC going to raise their grading standards to become equal with PSA now that's under the same roof? Because there is a distinct difference between the grading procedures of both companies.
Now, you say, are they going to raise their grading standards? I'll tell you, years ago, SGC, their grading standards were a lot higher than PSA before PSA was acquired and went private. So PSA cards now, I think, are being graded just as high as SGC cards. I think that, they're just like their graders over there.
Right. And I agree with you, by the way. I agree with you.
They're really sharp. So I think, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that. So how are they going to be able, or how are they? SGC does a great job, number one. But how is PSA going to have a hand in that SGC graded 4 rising in value? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think that SGC I think they're going to actually, because PSA owns them now, I think their popularity is going to get even higher.
Yeah.
I think their
and you're probably right.
Only because they're going to probably sink more money into SGC, and building that product. Now, people are talking about, I wish I knew, the intel on it, but, you could see SGC going by the wayside and PSA, crossing everything over and then just letting it go. But I don't see that, because Collectors Universe is a portfolio. And right. I think if they have SGC as one of their arms, it's probably much better than certain arms they have. But, I think if they have SGC, that's just another value that Collectors Universe can own, when it goes public.
Can I ask a question? Both you guys can answer this. When you talk about grading standards, so let's take, whether it's PSA, SGC. If I go work for PSA as a grader, is there do they this is what PSA looks for in a card or an item? Or is there some leeway with individual graders to say you see what I'm almost like a quarterback in an offensive scheme on a football team. Can a grader call his or her own plays at some point in the process?
No, they can't. Because a card, and Danny, jump in here. A card is not graded by one grader. A card goes through several different graders. And then I'm sure they take the GPA, the average GPA for that, right?
Yeah, I think in the grading system, the much larger price cards go through about 3 people, where I think the majority of the cards only go through one person.
Do they?
When I say the majority of the cards, I'm talking about Wembanyama. Everybody's grading Wembanyama or Giannis or Luka,
okay.
or Tatis, stuff. But when it comes to the Mantle rookies and the Tito 06 Wagners, I think they have the 3 main graders, and they kind of go over that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
All right. We are chatting with Danny Boy, our good friend Danny Wulkin from Memory Lane. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, a Gax blast from the past. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectables Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Well, look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
I was hoping you were going to be late. We are back. Mallory, what are you eating?
I'm having a little granola bar.
Yeah. Okay. You got to be on time, man.
I know, you caught me by surprise. I was trying to prepare myself for another 40 minutes with you.
You look very organized on that table. You look very organized with those papers.
Yeah, he does.
It's beautiful.
All right. It is time for a Dax blast from the past. As everybody knows, we take little minute and a half segments of past shows and show them. This is one. This is one that took place. It was the first show after COVID. Now, keep in mind, Johnny, myself, and Rico, we were separated for about a year, and we all had to work remotely.
That's right.
This is my first time back in the studio with Rico. Take a look. All right, Rico. I listen. You got to understand this. You got
to protect yourself, son.
You have to understand this clearly, that you've had 2 shots. I've had 2 shots. It's been 2 months. You don't need the mask on. He's hiding behind the mic.
camera, too.
He's hiding behind the camera. You don't
Dr. Fachim said, he said you still got to wear your mask.
What's his name?
Fachim.
Fachim.
Yeah, Dr.
I thought it was
Fachim. Yeah, well, that's just in Italian. It's Fachim.
Fachim, that's Chinese.
Oh, well.
Can we get his seat up, too? I mean,
Yeah.
No, I just
face.
I saw, look, I told you, I saw one of the COVIDs, the germs, traveling through the.
He saw a COVID germ. My name is Tom Zappa.
Hey, yo.
It is so good to be back with my paisan. Hold on. Get the mask. Hey.
Oh, I can breathe. I don't wear it. Look at this. It broke. I paid $20 for this mask, and it broke. Can you believe this?
All right,
Go ahead with your masks.
Oh, God. He is such
My favorite part of that was I saw a COVID.
I saw a COVID.
Traveling.
Oh, man. He is such a piece of work. He really is. He's a very, one thing about Rico, he has always maintained a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
He really has, man. He's just one funny guy. Oh, God. All right. Danny is in the house. Danny Wulkin from Memory Lane Auction. Danny, one other thing about this merger. You mentioned Fanatics, and then we're gonna move on from there. You mentioned Fanatics. I look at a company like Beckett. Now, Beckett right now controls about 4% of the market, grading market. And then there are a few companies that are even lesser than that. Is there a possibility that, I'm not saying Beckett, but is there a possibility that at some point in time we may see a class action suit against like collectors or even against Fanatics later on down the road? Because I'm under the approach, I honestly believe in my heart that if PSA doesn't go public, Fanatics is going to wind up buying them also. What are your thoughts on that, Dan?
I think there's no problem. I think no one's going to go through all of that financial investment to be able to launch some type of case against them. I think it's just the collectors are out there. They're going to decide who they're going to buy from. The giants are going to decide who they're going to buy up. And, I don't see Beckett being bought at all. I know that their autograph side is very well respected.
Yeah, it's very strong, actually.
They're heading.
Yeah.
And he's great. They're very, very popular, on the entertainment side and all that. And I really still think that that's their strong point. That's their strength. But I don't see anybody going after anybody. I think it's a waste of time. And I don't think it's a monopoly. I think there are so many grading card companies out there. There's so many authentication, autograph authentication companies out there that we might not know of. There's a new company I've seen a couple times, ACOA, So there are companies out there, but I don't think that there's going to be a class action suit, against anyone for monopolization. I just think we're going to carry on and do our thing for many, many decades, and I don't think it'll be interrupted. I think it's only good that all these companies are merging, are being bought. I think it's just strengthening the hobby, and there's always room for competition. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more companies coming out. You'll see at the National this year. I think there'll be more companies coming out promoting themselves also because they might try and get bought for a better, they might get it.
Good point. Danny, Johnny?
Well, I think I'm going to bring this up. I want to get your view. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it because we're kind of in that vein of what's good for the hobby, what's bad for the hobby, business, money. Obviously, big issue this week with Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, which leads us to the larger issue of the proliferation and the ease now of sports betting. And we've seen it, by the way, with other athletes, much lesser known than Shohei Ohtani getting in trouble for the prop bets and things like that. Zap and I have talked about it a little bit. Danny, I want to get your view on it. Small picture with, when I say small picture, I mean an individual with Ohtani, but then big picture with the whole sports betting issue, how it affects sports and your business. Let's start with Ohtani. He had on face front, great press conference yesterday, came right out and said it. I didn't bet on sports. I didn't bet on baseball. Never made a bet knowingly, with a bookmaker. What are your thoughts on that? And then we can talk big picture on sports betting for the hobby.
I want to add to his question, Dan.
Sure.
On Ohtani, it was a great press conference. But let's have a but in here. What happens if somebody proves that he did in fact bet?
Then he's done.
That's
to me. Then now that he said what he said, he's done. Because he came out and said they weren't expecting them. I know you want to answer, Danny. I'm sorry, but everyone was saying going into that press conference, we're not going to hear a lot. I bet he doesn't say a lot. He's going to dance around it. He came right out and said, never bet on sports, never bet on baseball, and never made a bet with a bookmaker knowingly, meaning his interpreter did it. So that's a pretty strong statement that we got yesterday. But to answer your question, Zap, if now it comes out that he lied, then in my opinion, he's done.
Because the other thing is, and Dan, again, jump in. He signed, how much was it, a $600 million?
700 mil, bro.
700 mil. So, you know something? If you're his interpreter and you're found guilty, you're going to go to jail. You're going to do 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
What's to prevent him taking the hit for Ohtani? And then when he gets out, he's set for life. Set for life.
Yeah, I'll tell you, first and foremost, I'll start with don't gamble. I don't care who you are. Right. I don't care if you're a kid that signs up for FanDuel.
Yeah, can't agree with you more.
Whichever. Vegas is built on losers, and you never win. It's a guarantee. It's an absolute guarantee. Fanatics is really, really smart. We're going to get back to Ohtani in a sec. Okay. Fanatics is really smart. Ruben owned part of the 76ers. He owned part of I think it's the New Jersey Devils. Sold his shares and all of that. He had to. Why? Because he's now going to be putting gambling in, hopefully, he thinks, every single one of the stadiums. So you can gamble and bet at your chair. It's a disease. It's like tobacco, RJ Tobacco and Company. It's about all, giving all this type of addicting stuff to the public. It's sad. It's a bummer. But with Ohtani, I'm telling you, it's probably a great time to buy his stuff, even if it is coming down. I don't see it coming down. I don't see it softening. So I think the public indirectly is giving their feedback without saying it, that they trust he never bet on anything. It's just, that's the situation with, the whole gambling situation. I don't think he bet, on any type of sports, let alone baseball. And I think I'll tell you, I think he was just the gentleman he was. And, maybe I'm wrong, but the gentleman he was and is, I'm sure he was helping his interpreter out. So he wasn't taken out by anyone, quote unquote, taken out by,
sure. No, absolutely.
Anyone. So I think he probably jumped in because he can afford it. A side note on Ohtani, I just learned yesterday, I didn't know this. He won't be making one pitch this entire season.
Right.
He won't be pitching. He'll just be.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Which, by the way, to me, Danny, is, I get it. I know the worth. I know the Dodgers are going to make a ton of money off of him as well. If they weren't going to make money, they wouldn't have paid him the $700 million. But to me, that just makes him another great hitter. The $700 million attraction of Ohtani, to me, was the Babe Ruth thing that he did both. There's a lot of great hitters out there who just hit, okay?
He's just going to DH, right?
Well,
yeah.
He's not going to play first base.
Right. And I just spoke with Magic Johnson a couple days ago, and I'll tell you, he was at this, which I'm actually wearing the hat, Aspire. Look it up. You'll be inspired more than you could ever know or ever imagine. This business conference I went to, and I was speaking to him, and he mentioned the $700 million contract on Ohtani, obviously because he owns part of the Dodgers, and he said that was a steal. And here's what's interesting: I trust him explicitly, because if you know the background of Magic Johnson, Starbucks wouldn't go into the inner cities.
That's right.
He decided to open up 125 Starbucks in 40 cities. And let me tell you, he's so smart and he aligns himself with smart people. And I know I'm going off on a bit of a sidebar.
that's fine.
It's okay.
He was able to go into this with an exit strategy and a plan to sell later on. The AMC wouldn't go into the inner cities of, putting in movie theaters. He decides to do the Magic Johnson movie theaters. Next thing you know, he sells all 125 Starbucks to Howard Schultz, sells them back to him. Not only that, he sells AMC all the Magic Johnson theaters back to AMC. So here they do it. And, so this guy, he's a sharp billionaire. And I trust him for $700 million for Ohtani. I'm telling you.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree. We are chatting with Dan. Hey, why don't you earn your money, JM, and tell us about our good friend, Charlie Perino, and the gang at JRI Cards. And by the way, Rico and I were there a couple of weeks ago. What an operation.
Why don't you pay me $700 million and I'll do it? If you want to have an absolute blast at obtaining some great modern and vintage cards, you got to check out JRI Cards. Our paisan, Charlie, the Iron Ripper Perino, along with Money Marco, the Dollar Girls, and the JRI gang give you the chance to participate in opening a graded, unopened, and sealed fresh wax or cello pack of your sport or non-sport favorite. It's easy. You buy in, Charlie opens the pack, and you get a pack fresh cards. As a matter of fact, if you pull that special jewel, the guys at JRI Cards will even have it graded for you on the house. Featured in the LA Times, ESPN, and USA Radio, JRI is the hottest card pulling show on the internet. Charlie and his staff make it fun, entertaining, and enjoyable with his collection of hats and sound effects. And don't forget that JRI donates a part of their proceeds to various charities. That's JRI Cards. Check out their exclusive breaks and events that everyone is talking about. They're always digging up cardboard treasures for a great hobby experience. Go to jricards.com.
Charlie's a great guy. By the way, Charlie co-hosted the fundraiser with me. He was my assistant auctioneer, and we had a lot of laughs. He did a great job. Hey, Danny, new items. You got some new items that have come in to you or that you have accumulated?
We always get cool items. One item which I hope to kind of answer this in a real short, brief moment. A book, and we deal in sports. We're known for sports. I love non-sports stuff. I also love sports. That's what this whole hobby started on for me. A book that was not only signed but the thumbprints of Pablo Escobar.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And this book, when he was in prison, and he built his prison in prison, which you can see on Narcos and everything, he published 150 books, a leather bounding book. They go for 10,000 unsigned. And this book is all the political cartoons of Escobar when he was in jail, throughout all the years. He saved them, self-published his own book, had the cops on the payroll, and came out with this. Now, they were only supposed to go to friends and family. One came up to auction. I ended up buying it, and it was signed by him with his thumbprint. And in addition to that, about 4 other guys that were part of his group, like his number one guy and then the rest of them. Crazy story. The reason why I bring that up is because there was paperwork. There was a dissertation in there from the Ministry of Defense of Colombia, and it was proving examples of his thumbprint to show authenticity of the thumbprint in the book because he was arrested so many times. Well, now let's cut to in the paperwork. There was, and you're not going to believe this, there was an email from the person in the Ministry of Defense. I thought the person from the defense. So I wrote him. It ends up being Pablo Escobar's PR guy who's still alive, who's been his PR guy since day one. He was the voice between him and the papers, him and the press. So he writes me back and he said, I said, yeah, I own this book. And just to solidify things, I told him about the TV show I was on. And he writes back and says, well, I'd love to connect you with Pablo Escobar's sister. And my eyes pop out of my head.
Wow.
After I press translation on my computer. So lo and behold, he sets up a Zoom call. And last week, I had a Zoom call with 4 people, with him, a translator, myself, and Escobar's sister. She wants to know who the book is written out to because they're not supposed to leave Colombia.
Wow.
So she looks at it and she said, my cousin Maria, I know, it's okay. So she knows where all of them are because she said she has hers. She has her mother's. And when Escobar was signing it to his sister, he was just going to sign it. And she told him, when you write a book, you can't just sign it. You have to personalize it. So that's what got him getting everyone else to sign it and then, personalizing it. So I have that book and I'm trying to get more from them, but she wants $1 million for hers, which won't happen.
Well, so are you, so is this for you personally or is it for Memory Lane?
Yeah, I mean, we will, it's for me personal, right now, it's for my personal collection. But listen, almost, and I don't say everything, almost everything that's up, that we have, except JP is such a huge Babe Ruth collector. And there are things that he will never sell.
Never part with, I know.
Never part with. But to me, this book, if someone offers the right price, I'd sell it. But talk about, a piece of history. And I mean, that guy is just a legend. And what she's doing out there, just to preface talking with her, and I might be buying some memorabilia from her, is that she's raising awareness on what not to do. She's very also let's say, philanthropic, building a museum and wanting to explain what to do and what not to do. So
awesome story.
Wow.
Awesome story.
Yeah, so just some real, talk about the people, and we can talk about this another time. It could be a real good segment. But let me tell you something. When people need money, they come to us if they have collectibles. So if you're dealing with a mobster, which I've dealt with many mobsters that have had collections that were the consultant to Casino, the consultant to Goodfellas. These types of people, they're real people. And when they run out of money and they have nothing, they'll come to us and they'll seek out, how can we make extra money? Well, sign some autographs for me. And then you get to find what stuff they have that's buried in their closet, not buried as in people, but buried in their closet.
I have a pair of pants from my Uncle Pete, who was a bookie.
I pay $60 for those. I pay 60, maybe 75. We can talk about it.
All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Danny Wulkin's in the house. We're here for one more segment. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Hey, I'm Mike Petroselli. If your company is looking for the best in marketing and promotional items, you'll hit a home run with Petroselli Marketing. With over 8,000 suppliers and 650,000 imprint-ready items, we can get your company the visibility it needs to get your maximum exposure. Whether it be office promotions, wearables, automotive, sports items, and everything in between, Petroselli Marketing can do it all. Our design staff will even work with you from concept to delivery and customize your products. At Petroselli Marketing Group, we will get your brand in front of your audience. Contact us at info@petrosellimkt.com or call us at 603-880-3202. That's Petroselli Marketing, where no dream is impossible.
So how does your company or organization do promotions? Imprinted products keeps your brand in front of your customers more than any other form of advertising. For the best on-time service and new ideas for your next project, give Petroselli Marketing Group a call at 603-880-3202 or email info@petrosellimkt.com.
Well done, JM.
Well, I had to be good. I have the voice here with us, so I got to pick my game up a little bit when you get Danny Wulkin with us. He's the John. He's the John Facenda of the hobby. He's like
the John Facenda of the hobby.
That's it. Right. It was a warm day in Oakland when the Raiders took the field.
By the way, I've been to that studio down in Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's just a little hole in the wall.
Yeah, man.
A friend of mine lived down there, like 2 doors down from it.
Listen, really you talk about the American dream. I mean, that started with a 8mm film and turned into a conglomerate. So
hey, right. Dan, question: are we all on the same page now that the modern market with these youngsters and Gen X, Gen Zs starting to come down now? They're seeing reality.
I find myself not even talking about it.
Yeah.
Myself.
He's right. You're right.
Sometimes things are just a waste of breath. I think that they're not investments. I think it's just Ponzi scheme-ish. I think it's not. I think parents have to step it up because a lot of them are saying how their 12 and 13-year-old is making so much money. Whatever goes up real fast comes down. I mean, it's.
I agree, man.
It's a plethora. It's printing money. One of one. It's printing money. You get a sheet of these and put a bunch in your wax packs, and next thing you know, the next year you're putting more, and those are old hat. They're old news.
Yeah. Hey, I had a question, and Zab, you can certainly join on this. Obviously, in the history of collecting, I think you could safely say that it was baseball that kind of drove the hobby a little bit.
Absolutely.
What sport drives the hobby and your business now, Dan? Is it still baseball, or is the question even worth asking now?
There's one that's totally superseded that, and it's lacrosse. Baseball is baseball.
That's good because I've loaded up on my Boston Blazers team cards. So
right, exactly. I'm telling you, baseball has always been the national pastime. It's worldwide. Even if auto racing's worldwide, it still doesn't. It doesn't take to our business. Baseball, basketball. It's even interesting. It's an interesting question you ask because it's even the layout. I use the breakdown on the layout for the catalog where I go baseball, basketball, football, hockey, boxing, golf.
Gotcha.
So in essence, that's really the most important, to rate what's the most popular.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, for me, baseball is it. In the collecting world, for me, it's really challenging to collect vintage cards that are in good shape. I love reading about and learning about the history of the player behind the card, and I think most vintage collectors do. I think a lot of the modern and ultra modern collectors are not concerned with the player. Oh yeah, I mean it's Wemby, but it's what's the card worth? You know what I mean? That's what's and as you said, Danny, the influencers on TV and on the internet are just driving it. There's one guy, I think we've talked about him. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to get sued, but I think he's the biggest fraud in the hobby. And he's got, I don't know, 1 million followers. Just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll tell you with the new stuff, it's embarrassing, and it's like I said before, it's printing money. And I forgot the point. I had a great point, but it literally, it's hurting. It's hurting the hobby.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Hey, I agree. JM, how about our friend Joe Drellick and the CSA show?
How about it, Zap? CSA Shows is proud to present the Chantilly Show being held on April 5th through the 7th, held at the Dulles Expo Center in Chantilly, Virginia, just minutes from the Dulles International Airport. Celebrating 28 years at the same location, there will be over 450 dealer tables exhibiting on over 100,000 square feet of space. With both vintage sports cards and memorabilia, as well as modern-day sports treasures, you won't have to look very far for that special card, bat, ball, or autograph. Major auction houses and third-party grading companies will be on site to assist you with your collecting and authentication needs. Some of your favorite superstars will be on hand, including, this is a good group, Iron Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, NFL stars of today, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Max Crosby, Barry Sanders from the past, Emmitt Smith, Jerry Rice, very rare public signing appearance by John Elway, and many more, over 50 guests in total. For more information, go to www.csashows.com. That's the Chantilly Show, where you can find all of your sports collectible treasures. John Elway, you almost never hear his name.
I know. He's
doing signings. Yeah.
Those guys are such great guys. Joe Drellick, Jimmy Ryan, Brian.
Yeah.
They're
great guys.
They're such wholesome. They're great guys.
Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see what direction the National goes in, because these guys, they're young, they have vision. It's going to be, even this year, I mean, in Cleveland, it's going to be really interesting to see how, what the layout is and how it looks. I think it's going to be fun. And by the way, we are going to be broadcasting from the Burka stage on the Friday of the show from 1 to 3, as we do every year. We have some fun, a lot of giveaways, thanks to our good friend Derek Grady, who brings all kinds of crap to throw out to the audience. Derek, I have to say, Derek stepped up literally to the plate on our auction. He didn't win it, but we had a game used Rico Petrocelli bat, Danny. It was the last bat that Rico used. The last bat, last bat he used in a game. And Dan had a bid, opened up the bid at $3,000 for the bat. Remotely, called it in, but wound up losing it. But that was really nice. And he was going to donate it, sell the bat, and donate it to Little Smiles, the money. So I got to tip my hat to Derek.
Nice.
Derek's a good guy. So vintage is still king. Are we all in agreement there?
Yes, it is, and we got a lot of that in the auction.
Talk about it, because we've got about 4 minutes left. Give us kind of a thumbnail of the whole auction.
Sure. I mean, literally from like Honus Wagner tip top cards to Cracker Jack cards. We have a Cracker Jack 1914 Cracker Jack set break, which is great. The T206 set break. What's interesting about this auction is that we have a little bit for everyone, because not only the vintage not autographs, the vintage turn of the century cards, we also have Gaudies, Ruth Gaudies, Gaudy Gehrigs. We've got, a high grade Jackson rookie and a 9. A group like John was talking about before, a group of Roberto Clemente cards, Roberto Clemente's own section of high grade cards, signed cards, a 52 Bowman Mantle, a Bowman, 54 Bowman, I think Ted Williams, which is impossible to find.
Good stuff.
A Koufax rookie with a 10 auto, and I think it graded a 4. So we have a bunch of vintage autograph cards. We have a music section that's incredible with autograph albums of the Eagles. We have Michael Jackson from Thriller, boxing stuff, Muhammad Ali stuff. I'm telling you, there's a little bit for everyone. Unopened. We have a 53 pack, Topps pack that's unopened. We have a 55 Topps pack. We've got a 7980 box, 7980 Topps box of the Gretzky year of hockey. And all this stuff is, authenticated by Steve Hart at BBCE, which Steve is definitely the leader, the only one
Absolutely.
that really gravitates and knows his thing in the unopened market. Just a bunch of really amazing pieces of memorabilia, cards, the 34 Tour Japan ball. It just goes and goes.
Now, when does it start?
It's going to be starting, it ends May 4th. So about 3 weeks previous to that.
I mean, that's good. You guys typically run your auctions for a long time, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's for people to absorb and to look and to research and to enjoy. I'll tell you, people take our catalogs, it's flattering / what just happened, where they sell our catalogs on eBay. They'll take our catalogs, even if they don't. So if you were to go to eBay and put in Memory Lane auction catalog or Memory Lane catalog, you're going to see our catalogs.
I keep them. I'll tell you what, honestly, great bathroom reading. Bathroom reading later on. Awesome.
Yeah, I have a big client that said that years ago, may he rest in peace. A big client of mine that he said the only reason I reached out to you is because I would always read it in the bathroom.
His name is Danny Wulkin, Memory Lane Auctions. Dan, as always, man, we love you. Thanks for coming on.
Great.
You bring a lot. You bring a lot to the show, and we're very appreciative of it. We're going to be seeing you at the National. Yeah, we'll stop by and say hi to the guys. You and Tomasulo and Cohen and the rest of them.
Yeah,
does Leslie go? Is Leslie going to be there?
I think she's going this year as well. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
JM, the next time I see you, we're going to be sitting next to each other.
All right. Love that.
I am so excited to get that. I get to see the beautiful Chrissy up live and personal. Right, Chrissy? She's not even listening.
I'll be here. I'm not listening. I'm doing my job.
That's good. Now you guys can argue face to face. That's great.
Exactly. All right. With that being said, guys, again, thanks. Again, Rico.
Danny, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. No, always appreciate you having me on.
Rico, if you're listening, give us that list of roadkill. And to our viewers and audience, happy collecting.
Cheers to the possums.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.